So we're with the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. It is 2014, and we're going to show you how to fix a bandsaw by putting a new blade on it. So if you zoom in close, you can see it looks like maybe someone tried to cut some metal on this blade, but it's definitely not sharp anymore. And so we're going to swap it out with a new blade. We're also going to use a thinner blade. You see, a 1/2-inch blade is good for cutting straight lines, but we want to be able to cut some curves, so we're going to put a 1/4-inch blade on it instead. So first thing we're going to do is unplug the bandsaw. Safety first. And so next, I'm going to open it up, just make sure there's nothing else wrong with it. And so you can see the belts and all that. So there's 2 knobs on the back of the bandsaw that you want to pay attention to. The top knob adjusts the height of the wheel. So turning it clockwise makes the band's blade go tighter, and counterclockwise loosens it. And there's another one, which you'll have to come around here to see. This knob on the back right here adjusts the camber of the wheel, or the tilt of the wheel. And so we are going to go lefty-loosey with it. There we go. And so now it may not be moving right now until we loosen it up a little bit, but it'll fall away a little bit. So we're going to keep loosening it up until we can safely remove the blade a little bit more, just to give us some good room. So we're going to take out the little plates. We're going to carefully remove the blade. Stuck. Oh, well, that's new. I'm gonna try tightening up the wheel, that way it gives us
more room.
Actually, it's not giving us. I just need to lower it. All right, so make sure this is low, that way it doesn't pinch that gap where you need to get your saw blade out. There we go. And for this saw, we also need to unclip the dust director thing here. That way this blade doesn't catch. And it looks like maybe this wasn't in the right position because the blade is actually catching already on a piece there. So maybe that's part of what was wearing down the blade faster than it should have, because that blade wasn't on there for very long. So I'll look at that when we put it back together. Alright, so that blade is off, and to dispose of this, what we do, because you got this big sharp thing, and you can actually just bend it and put it into a shape that's sizable to put in a trash can. And usually we'll zip tie it or tape it up or something like that. I'm not worried about this blade being sharp because it's so corroded. I'm going to take a new blade. One of the hardest parts about this is just opening it up because it's kind of under tension. So I'm going to be really careful. Like that.
Hula hoop with it.
Exactly, yeah. This would be great for the hula hoop contest. Alright, now we're going to, putting as little stress as possible, this blade. I'm going to loop it onto the wheel, put it in the guard. Let's see what's going on down here. Alright, so we're just gently setting the blade on top of the wheels. And now we're going to tighten it up. So see how the wheel is moving up into its place. Get that nice and tight, make sure it's still making contact. The wheels, we're gonna put our dust mover back into place. And I just keep tightening until it seems a little bit difficult to move the blade, to get that guy to move around. It'd be helpful to just kind of qualitatively feel how tight it is. And so you should be able to tell that there's tension on it. But it's pretty forgiving, so you don't have to be any precise amount. It's probably nice and tight. And then the first thing you need to do before you even try starting it up or anything like that is just spin it with your hands. So if you want to come over to this side, I'll give an example. So if the wheel were cambered too far away from the housing of the saw, apparently it rubs on something. Let's see where we're rubbing. Okay. It's also rubbing on this piece right here, and I know the solution to that, so we need to make sure it goes on the outside of the part of the cabinet, which the door, so that metal piece here mates with the door. I didn't think this was going to involve so much troubleshooting. This is a pretty routine procedure.
Video is also pretty long too. Someone's gonna enjoy sitting here and watching this and learn.
Yeah, we'll edit some of this out.
Or just keep the whole 7-minute plus video.
Alright, so if we want to come back over here, make sure it's not rubbing on anything. No, we're good. Alright, so if it's angled too far away from the body of the saw, it'll start riding up and then it'll come off the edge. So you want to make sure that the belt is tilted up vertically, and if you just rotate it with your hand, you'll be able to tell where exactly it's going to ride. And you just want it to sit up about on the center, a little bit forward of the center, and that'll be perfect. There we go. So we're listening, we're making sure it's not rubbing on anything, and it looks like we're good. So I'm going to give this a quick burst of air to clean it up. It's always a good idea. This seems to be done every now and then. So about as often as it takes to change the blade out. It's bad. I'm gonna stop doing that. I'm gonna put that guy into place. Close it back up, and now we're going to test it. We're just going to use a little scrap piece of wood.
Plug it back in.
Plugging it in would be helpful. Alright, something we're also going to adjust because we put a smaller blade on it is there's a bearing right back here. And we want to move that bearing up against there, up against the blade. So that involves turning this little tiny knob until it gets close. I might recommend using an actual tool for this. It's been a really long time since I actually put a different sized blade on this one. Forgot about this part. Alright, so the idea of this thing, it actually spins. It doesn't have to, the saw blade doesn't have to ride on the side. It can just butt up against it and it spins just the same. So we're going to turn it on. Moment of truth. Beautiful. That is a beautiful cut from a new blade.